welcome back to Across the Pod NFL podcast. It is time to review Week 12 as Thanksgiving has now come and gone. I am, as ever, your host, Andy Davis, and this week I'm joined by a returning guest. Back with me today is Eagles fan Cam McFarlane. Cam, first of all, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. I'm all right now. I'm sure we'll come on to it, but I'm feeling a little bit more relaxed now than I was yesterday evening, so we'll get that bit out of the way straight away. But yeah, good to be back on, mate.
Well, good to have you on, and we may as well talk about it now because it's only really the place to start. It's by far the game of the week, and certainly, I think, one of the games of the season involving your team, the Eagles, on Sunday Night Football as they beat the Buffalo Bills in overtime. Not Sunday Night Football. The late slate on Sunday as they beat the Buffalo Bills 37-34 in overtime. Bills did get a field goal before the Eagles won the game eventually through Jalen Hurts. And story of the game, of course, that was a hell of a game. And Jake Elliott scored a wonderful field goal. I think it was 59-yarder to get into overtime. And then also the overtime itself was back and forth. First of all, what a game, but also just how crucial is that for your team for the rest of the season to go 10-1, and 2 wins clear of the NFC?
Yeah, I think it was massive, to be honest. And that's probably why I was so nervous watching it last night, thinking, obviously, we've got the 49ers up next. We've then got the Cowboys in Arlington as well. It's a tough next 2 games. You lose last night, and all of a sudden you're thinking, we could realistically lose 3 on the bounce, and all of a sudden number 1 seeds in a bit of bother at this point. So I think it was massive to get that result. And like you say, Jake Elliott, what a boy he is. Like, he's now 9 from 9 in the career game tying or go-ahead field goals at the end of a game, which is ridiculous. But that kick to make it from 59 in the wind and the rain, horrible slippy field, and to kick it over from there, I wasn't confident with him stood over it, I'll be honest, even knowing how good that he is and how reliable he is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a crucial time, and how many Super Bowl winners have dodgy kickers? I don't think many. Most Super Bowl winners have a reliable kicker, and to have him, I don't really remember him putting a foot wrong really in an Eagles jersey. So it's crucial, especially when it comes to these big games where there's fine margins, where often the field goal is different. So good to have a reliable, trustworthy kicker for yourselves. And, it wasn't, I don't think, the perfect performance. I mean, you'll probably admit that yourselves, but I don't think really you guys have had a stand-up performance all year, but you're 10-1 doing so. Just how good is that, the fact that you haven't really got going this year, but you're still 10-1?
That's it, isn't it? It's not been pretty at all, and it certainly wasn't last night. I mean, 3 quarters in last night, we had, I think midway through the third quarter, we had something like 95 yards at that point total on the team. We were struggling, but defense kept us in it, and then sort of down the stretch, Jalen just turned it on and put the team on his back and went and got it won with some big plays down the field, throwing it, but then crucial runs when he had to, including the one to get it done in the end from sort of 12 yards out in overtime.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was definitely a turn in the game with the, I believe it was a fumble in the game, but I think that throw from Jalen Hurts to Olamide Zaccheaus, I mean, to turn the way he did, scramble around the pocket, get to the end on the left-hand side, and to make that throw, the angle he was at, with players coming at him, I thought was spectacular. And I think that whole sequence of the fumble and then was it the missed? I can't think of the fumble or mixed.
The interception on their side. We had the fumble earlier on where Jalen couldn't decide whether to give it to Swift or not, and ended up putting it. It might have been Gamewell actually, and put it on the floor. But the interception from Bradbury, who just sort of spotted the route and just drove on the ball and took it. That the big change because it was. I think it was three touchdown throws in 4 attempts for Jalen at that point, which is ridiculous. But yeah, that play to Zaccheaus was special. Like you say, he's rolling the wrong way for him. First of all, like he's going as a right-handed thrower. Generally, you want to be going right if you're going to be making a deep throw rather than going left. He's got people running his face, but also saw a fantastic angle of it on Instagram earlier from the end zone. Like looking back forward, you can see him directing Zaccheaus round the back as he's making the run as well, and then just puts it perfectly in a spot where only he can catch it as well. Not bad for someone that people still like especially in our NFL group, likes to try and call him a running back still at times.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he's as good as last year, but I think at the end of the day, he's making crucial throws at the right time, and he's doing the business when it matters. And I think that really is all important, because at the end of the day, who cares how you perform to a certain extent how you perform in a regular season? It's about how you perform in big games, and that only put you in good stead come the playoffs. And I think that, you know, it was a fantastic performance. But equally, the Bills have to be proud of themselves. I think they, you know, I actually had them winning this game in our predictions, but not many had them winning this game. And, you know, a lot of people have written off their season, especially with the Chiefs and Cowboys to come for the Bills. But for them to, you know, to do what they did and keep it competitive and score that many points, and Josh Allen getting back to his old ways with some of his touchdowns he recorded, I think that they also have to be, even if they lost, I think there's definitely some questionable calling. I think there was the one, I can't think who it was from now, but there was a potential pass interference, I thought, in late on.
Oh, Slay on.
Yeah,
on,
that's it. Yeah,
the outside.
Yeah,
I think he just that was just smart veteran play from Slay there. Where he was holding him, I don't think there was an official that could actually see it. Like, it was so tight towards Slay's body as well, just holding him here. I think it was just a little bit just smart cornerback play there. Really, I think it was definitely pass interference, but he was subtle enough about it to get away with it.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, you guys are the fan base that have the most right to have that go away after what happened against the Chiefs in Super Bowl 57 on James Bradbury, on Juju Smith-Schuster. I think that it's I think you guys definitely have earned the right to have one of those go your way. But yeah, the Bills, I think they can beat the Chiefs, if I'm honest. I think I'm even more confident now. I now see them play against the Eagles. I just think that the Chiefs, like the Eagles, haven't been great, and I think the Bills could cause them problems, and they even beat them last year. And I think they still a team I think can challenge for the playoff positions. I think if we lose one more game, I think that's probably the AFC East wrapped up for us, especially if we can win those next 3 games on paper. I think that it might be, but I think they can still get into the wildcard team. It's so tight at that point. I still have faith in them to make the playoffs. I think if they can get a win out of the Chiefs or Cowboys, I think it's definitely on. And I think the Bills, I think even if this year's a write-off, I think next year, if they can keep the group the way it is and Joe Brady carries on in his position and gets a full-time role, I think this team are definitely a team to watch out for next year. Maybe be one of those teams that make the playoffs after not making it the year before.
I thought they were excellent yesterday, and having played them and the Chiefs over the course of the last 6 days, I'd rather play the Chiefs again right now. I thought the Bills were excellent last night, and realistically, they've come within that ridiculous 59-yard field goal from Jake Elliott of winning that game against the number 1 seed in the league right now. So, yeah, I thought they played really well, and they're only a game back from making the wild card right now as it stands. I think they've got a really good chance, and I wouldn't fancy playing them in January.
Yeah, they scare me. I'm scared of Denver. I think if we played them, I think they'd be so eager to get revenge on us. But I think the Bills are a team that...
Yes, it's strange to say you're scared for a team you put 70 points on, but but I know what you mean. They seem to be clicking as well right now.
Yeah, so it's their way for me. I think the team I wanted for the last few weeks has been Pittsburgh Steelers. If we can get them, they're currently the 5th seed. So if we can stay the way it is, we'll play Pittsburgh in the wild card. I would fancy it, but I wouldn't fancy Cleveland. Well, I'd fancy Indianapolis, but I wouldn't want Denver because they're going to be, on a mission to get revenge on us and also silence all the haters. But the Bills, they've been a constant Achilles heels for us. They beat us early this year by about 20 points. Josh Allen, I believe, is 8-2 as a starter against us, or 9-2 or something. He's seems to have our number, and I would worry about them if they hit the right form. And I think certainly they're a team to be wary of, but they have got a tough 2 games ahead. And I don't know whether you saw actually the stat was made on the coverage last night that the Eagles' point differential is something like 50 or 51, whereas the Bills is like 120 or something. So they've won some games by big margins.
Yeah, blowing teams out, and they're capable of doing that. You look at that team, and what really impressed me with them, to be honest, last night, and it's been a criticism of them the last couple of years, is that they don't really run the ball very well. And well, they don't really run the ball. They just don't bother with it, other than Josh running it himself. But last night in that fourth quarter, they ran straight on our defense, which is, we know how tough it is to run up the middle against us. And yes, they'd had the ball a lot. Our line had been on the field a lot, but running on Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter and the rest like they were doing was very impressive from them in that fourth quarter yesterday. So they've got the ability to go and close games out as well a little bit now. So yeah, it was impressive. Big stat for them that in terms of how much they are able to blow people out. But the one stat that impressed me more than anything yesterday, that was Jalen Hurts' 8th consecutive game where he's been down by 10 points and gone on to win the game. And no one else in history has ever done more than 4 straight. And he's only 25.
That's impressive. I didn't even know that. That's I didn't think you guys had been down by 10 at all 10 times. So that's it's pretty impressive. I got to give huge credit to him. Maybe going under the radar when it comes to MVP shouts. But we're going to head from this last lot of games last night to the early slate on Thursday, Thanksgiving. I mean, there were 2 games that pretty much went as expected. The 49ers beat the Seahawks 31-13. Cowboys beat the Commanders 45-10. But the one that shocked everyone was in Detroit, the 1 year where they were the favourites to win a game on Thanksgiving, and they still lost, sadly, to go 8-2. They lost 29-22 to the Green Bay Packers. Just how much of a shock was that for you, Cameron? I mean, I certainly didn't expect this game to go the way it did, and Packers were miles ahead at one point as well. Just how much of a shock was it to see the Lions be so bad in particularly first 2 quarters?
I was going to say, yeah, it's a little bit flattering to the Lions, to be honest, 29-22, because they were never in the game, to be fair, were they? I had a sneaky feeling that the Packers might win this one, and it was on nothing other than the fact that the Lions and bottling it on Thanksgiving seems to be the way that they go, to be fair. So yeah, I did call it in our group chat that I fancied that was the one that might be the upset of the day. The other 2 were sort of cut and dry. You couldn't see them going any way other than what they did. But I thought this one might be close. The Packers played fairly well the weekend before as well, and I just thought he might just be able to do something. And as it turned out, they did. But he's certainly not panic stations for Detroit at this point. They're still going very well at 8-3. But yeah, it's a game they should be winning.
Yeah, and I think that it's the 1 year where the Packers have been quite bad, but then again, in recent weeks, they seem to have improved. So it's the Packers, certainly another team like the Bills, have been written off all year, but I think they certainly could still make the playoffs. I think they're now far off doing that. And it's, I think for Detroit, I think there's definitely got to be concerned a little bit there because they got thrashed by the Ravens. I can't think they lost to first time round, but this loss has to put a bit of doubt in the minds of Lions fans because before the game, they still are the media darling, but I think a lot before the game there was a lot of talk about is this year they're going to potentially make a Super Bowl, potentially make an NFC title game. But I think that game, it made them good. It may give them that sense of reality check and give them that kick at the backside they need. But I think you have to worry a little bit about the Lions, the fact that they've lost certainly this game, and I think has to be a worry because they should be winning these games. And I think they had a great chance to go, 9-2, and I think the NFC and with the Packers, with the Vikings playing tonight, it could be as low as 1 game win between them. And I think that they really missed their chance. I think Thursday night to almost wrap up that division. So I think they'll definitely be looking over their shoulders in that division.
Yeah, and to be fair, as much as they did get blown out, a lot of it was on themselves as well. I mean, Jared Goff needs to learn how to protect the football. Like he's been playing as well this year as he's played for many a year. But yeah, you can't be losing 3 fumbles in the first half and expecting to go and win games.
No, and even week before that, he threw for 3 picks, and they really most people have lost that game to the Bears, and they was lucky that the Bears are the Bears, and they can't seem to hold on to a lead. So. Really, it should be 2 losses in a row for Lions, but I think they'll still be fine. I think they'll still make the playoffs, and I think they'll still potentially win the division. But I think they've got to be a bit wary about the rest of the season. Now, moving on to Friday night, the first ever Black Friday game. Now, the Dolphins beat the Jets 34-13. Now, first of all, you were at the Manchester watch party for Sky Sports. Just how was that experience for you?
I was. It was great fun. Really, really good event that they put on there. Yeah, it was nice to sort of have a chat with the guys as well. So chatted to J-Bo for a bit and Jeff and Phoebe and Neil as well. It was a really good event. Everyone was in great spirits. Jets fans were loud in there as well, even though they were getting blown out. To be fair, they were still loud and still having plenty of banter back and forwards with everyone. It was a really good event and really well put on.
Yeah, and I'm from watching it on the TV coverage back at home, it looked to be a great event. I mean, I saw a lot more Jets fans and Dolphins fans in that particular shot they had of the four of them, but the game itself, I think that it had what I think by far the craziest minute ever on any NFL game clock we've ever seen. To have, first of all, two or three, obviously the game was won. I think we were winning 10-0 at the time. Then two throws an interception, and then the Jets do nothing with it. We get the ball back, two throws, another interception, and then the Jets go for a Hail Mary with 2 seconds left on the clock. Jevon Holland, our safety, catches it and runs for a 99 return touchdown. Now, I have never seen, in all my years watching the NFL, I've never seen that happen before. I've seen Hail Marys be picked off for interceptions come the final minute of the second quarter. I've seen a Hail Mary caught for a touchdown. I've never seen that happen. 99-yard return touchdown from a Hail Mary. Unbelievable. And I was going crazy in my house. It was just, I couldn't believe it. And, the rest of the game, I think that because when we got through the two picks, I think we'd given, it was a pick six, wasn't it? First one, two, and then it was in.
Yeah, so it's 10-6 at that point going into the half.
And I was thinking, we've given this game a game that was comfortable. It looked like no way they were going to score any points in that game. Our defense was playing amazingly. And then that happens. And, if with two interceptions, I'm thinking we've literally given them the momentum. We've given them life back in this game. And then that happens. And that seems just to kill the momentum completely. Most of got cut touchdown second half. It was pretty much plain sailing after that point. I think that really helped momentum and helped seal the game for us. But at the end of the day, another win for us. And I think with our, upcoming 3 games against the Commanders, Titans and Jets, it's a really good chance for us to go get 11 wins. And, especially with our last 3 games being the Cowboys, Ravens and Bills, I think, especially if the Bills do lose to the Cowboys or Chiefs and we can win these next 3 games to go 11 and they'll have 7 wins, I think that'll be all but wrapped up for the division. I think that it was really important to overcome that adversity. And I think pretty much apart from those 2 picks, I don't think Tua did an awful lot wrong. I think he pretty much was rock solid apart from that minute on the game clock. Tyreek Hill was as you'd expect. Jalen Waddle had a good game, probably his best game of the year so far, and Raheem Mostert did what he does best. And it was good to see the likes of Jeff Wilson get involved as well. And our defense once again is proven to be our best feature right now of the last 3 weeks. And I think that'll do us great stead come the playoffs if our offense can actually get back to their weeks 1 to 4 selves.
Yeah, like you said, it seems a little bit strange to be saying it considering he threw 2 picks, including a pick 6. But I thought he was really solid on Friday. I thought he just played a very smart game and just did what he needed to do. He didn't try to do too much at any point really. And like I say, that there was just disbelief in the watch party at the 99-yard Hail Mary return. We were all saying the same. Like, we've never seen that happen ever. Like you say, you see them picked off occasionally. Usually it's picked off and touched down immediately where they are, or you see them caught occasionally, and a lot of the time it just falls incomplete. But to cut all the way back with it for the score was incredible. But I think you're in a really strong position. Like I say, you've got that nice little run the next 3. It's kind of the opposite of what we've got as the Eagles, to be fair, in that we've got a tough sort of 3 games now going. The 49ers up next, and then on the road in Dallas, on the road in Seattle, and then we've got the easy run sort of the last 3 as much as in playing the Giants twice and the Cardinals in the last 3 games. So sort of the other way around, I think I'd kind of rather have it the way you've got it, where get it wrapped up now, get your 3 easy wins in now, and then rest people the last couple of weeks. But it's probably going to be the other way around for us.
Yeah, I think that I'm hoping that we can get to a point where, whether it's the Baltimore game or whether it's the Bills game, I want it to be a point where basically that Cowboys game ends Christmas Eve, or technically Christmas morning for us UK fans, with the
Yeah.
at least wrapped up. Because ideally, I don't want to play Baltimore Ravens and play with our starters, but I don't want to give them any sort of indication of any film, because we're probably going to have to play them at some point in the playoffs. And then the Bills, I don't want to have to rely on beating the Bills, because they seem to be our bogey team in the last few years. So yeah, fingers crossed. And yeah, I've never seen us ever go 8-3, and I've never seen us have 11 wins in any season. So it's really good time to be a Dolphins fan. But like many fans, I still can't get too excited, because I've not yet seen us be a good team. I know the Broncos are now a winning team, but they weren't at the time. But haven't been a team with a winning record since week 3 of last season. And I think until we beat the likes of the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Bills, I'm not going to be sitting here and saying we're going to make a run for it. So yeah, I'm just going to play it.
You don't need to beat the regular season. Just beat them in January. You'll be all right.
Yeah, we all beat them last season with Skylar Thompson. So I'm hoping that they can have a similar sort of calamity-filled game against us if we play them. But I'm hoping that they lose against the Chiefs and the Cowboys, and they're not even in the playoffs, and we not have to worry about them. But I think even if they lose those 2 games, I think they'll find a way to make it in. I think they've got, I don't know what their last 3 games is, but yeah, hopefully we can get to a point where even when it comes to week 18, we play our backup players and we beat them and they get knocked out of the playoffs. That would be the dream situation. If we could do that, that would be that'd be amazing. Now moving on to Sunday slate. First lot of 6 p.m. games. Not really too many outstanding results. I mean, the Falcons beat the Saints 24-15. Steelers beat the Bengals 16-10. The Titans beat the Panthers 17-10, which saw the end of Frank Reich's reign, who got fired today. Colts beat the Bucks 27-20. Giants beat the Patriots 10-7, by far the worst game of the week. And the Jags beat the Texans.
That was awful, that game, wasn't it?
I love close scoring games, but that was just too much. Even on Red Zone, it was just like they were never showing it, and it was just 2 really bad teams. Only 5 wins between them before the game. Just too bad.
I think I heard Scott Hansen say at one point, he was like, so the Giants got it first, they punted. And it was literally, there was about 8 punts in a row, and like about 5 of them were 3 and outs. It was just
not a shock to me at all. Yeah, not very good for either of those teams right now. And then Jags beat the Texans 24-21. I mean, this was a great game, I thought. Obviously, Sky picked it for a reason. I know we talked about it before, but even though they lost, just how good have you found CJ Stroud this year?
Oh, unbelievable to just roll in and do what he's doing in what nobody really expected to be a very good side this year. He's got them banging contention, and I mean, they were the width of a crossbar away from overtime as well. How that didn't bounce over, I have no idea. But it's really close game. Put it up to the Jags, who I thought played well as well. I thought Trevor Lawrence had a pretty good game as well for them, and sort of they started off well. They got out into a lead. Ridley sort of came into the game in sort of towards the end of the second quarter and into the third, and I didn't see it getting as close as it did, but it just shows you how well CJ Stroud and Tank Dell are playing at the moment. That connection between 2 rookies is something special right now.
Yeah, I don't think we've really seen 2 rookies sort of connect both in their rookie years. Probably, unless I'm missing one out here, probably since Dak and Zeke, if I'm honest, in terms of 2 rookies and being that good straight away. I think there's a lot of credit. And I think DeMeco Ryan's done an excellent job. Of course, they stunned everyone in the draft, of course, going for the trading up for the 3rd pick as well and getting Will Anderson. And it just seems right now that they are in a good place, and they had the really unfortunate situation of the whole Deshaun Watson situation where they had their franchise quarterback, and it seemed to just all fall away like that. And even when his last full season there, he had the most yards and they still had 4 wins. But I don't think anyone had them. All the Colts really in a playoff contention, and right now they're the 7th and 8th seed. I think it's a fantastic job. But I think look at Coach of the Year. I think DeMeco Ryan deserves a hell of a shout for it. And I think that ultimately, I think someone like Nick Sirianni may get it, but I do think that certainly DeMeco Ryan should be one of the nominees, because the job he's done to and also the front office to do that in the draft and take Stroud and take Will Anderson when they did, I think they deserve a lot of credit. And I think that for once, this Texans franchise seems to be actually in a good place.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, little soft spot for D'Amico Ryans anyway, as a former Eagle. Quite happy seeing him going and doing well over there. So, yeah, I think you bang on with the fact that, like you say, he's got to be right in the conversation for Coach of the Year, and there's not many you could say that are comfortably ahead of him. Like you say, yes, we're winning week in, week out, but we're not playing our best ball. You wouldn't be looking at us and going, "Oh, Sirianni's coaching them unbelievably." We're just pulling it out sort of when we need to, and I think there probably will be a look elsewhere for the awards this year a little bit, because Jalen's not having statistically his best year, and we're probably not putting up the numbers that we were putting up last year. So probably will look elsewhere, and to be doing what he's doing with that team, he's definitely in the conversation.
Now, fun fact for everyone. There will be no podcast this week because I will be in Dubai for a week. And fun fact, the most followed team in the NFL in Dubai are the Texans. So I'm going to try and find a fan spot, albeit it starts at 10 p.m. over there. So I'm surprised. I don't know why Texans are the most followed team out there.
I was going to say, that's a rogue one there.
Yeah, it's really strange. But they are, I maybe it's to do with the oil money. I don't know. The oil stuff, I don't know. But it's either way, apparently they're the most followed team in Dubai. So I think there's a sports bar there that does show the NFL. I can't remember what it's called now, but I'm intrigued to see whether it is going to be Texans based. I'm intrigued to see what it's be like. But yeah, there'll be no podcast next week as a result. But yeah, I hope to bring you some stories about that experience. Moving on to the late slate, Rams beat the Cardinals 37-14. Chiefs beat the Raiders 31-17, despite being 14-0 down. And we already mentioned the Eagles beating the Bills 37-34, and the Ravens did beat the Chargers 20-10. But the last game I want to focus on is the Broncos Browns. We've already mentioned the Broncos a little bit earlier. They got another win as they won 29-12 over the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland as well, I believe it was. No, actually, was it in Denver or Cleveland? It was in Denver. It was in Denver, and but either way, to score that many points against a defense that has been probably the best defense this year, I think deserves a lot of credit. And I think we have to give both Russ and Sean Payton a lot of credit here, because 1-5, they could have easily have, hung the towel in, after especially one of those games being that aforementioned 70 points to 20 loss to us. Most teams could have hung in the towel and called it a day. But fair play to Russ and Sean. They've kept at it. Courtland Sutton's been amazing, and Russell Wilson seems to be at the moment back to being potentially a top 10 quarterback, if not just on the outskirts of that. Brilliant run from them, 5 wins in a row. And right now, I think, I mentioned earlier, they're the one team I don't want to face outside the Bills in the playoffs that are in the bubble or in the wildcard spots. I think they're a team that really is going to really cause some problems for some teams.
Yeah, 100%. And like you say, their season looked over when you blew them out. Like, everyone's thinking they've wasted a ton of money on Russ's contract and picks on going and getting Sean from the Saints as well, even though he's a strange one where he was still sort of under the Saints, even though he wasn't coaching them at that point. But yeah, that Cleveland side is excellent on defense. However, I don't think they're now good enough to overcome the fact that they don't have a quarterback. Especially not when the backup then got knocked out halfway through the game as well. That hit on the shoulder, that was a rough hit, and it's one that made you wince a little bit when you saw it, right on the throwing shoulder as he extended his arm. But like you say, that wasn't the reason that they got so many points here, that they won this game. The reason was that they went out and played really good on offense against that unbelievable Cleveland defense. So they look good right now, and like you say, you don't want to face them because their defense is notoriously good as well. If they can click on offense and get going, because to be honest, Russ only threw for 134 yards in this game as well. But the ground attack was where they got it done, with the three of them going over sort of 50 yards. Was it over 50 yards? No, Russ didn't quite get 50 yards. He only got 34. But got a touchdown himself on the ground, and then Pirine and Williams looking strong as a 1-2 there as well.
Yeah, and I think that's the key. The balance of the offense is there. The run game's working well, as you mentioned. Pirine, brilliant stretch from him in the last few games, and I think that there's a reason why they're one of the few. They're the only team I can think of, apart from Reed and Mahomes, that currently have a Super Bowl winning head coach and a Super Bowl winning quarterback in the same team. And I think that is a reason that's the case. And I think both teams are going to be both these men, as well as the run game, are going to be key towards any success. And I look up now the rest of their schedule. I want to check what it's like, because I've got a feeling it might be pretty favourable towards them. Let's have a look. It's a Broncos schedule. So
the other thing you've got to give them a little bit of credit for as well is the front office for sticking with Peyton and Russ at that point, and sort of not looking to make any changes at that time, because, like you say, they were struggling. It's not the most favourable, the schedule, but it could be tougher.
Texans next, which could be a game I watch. Chargers twice. They got the Lions, but then they got the Patriots and the Raiders. So it's sort of mostly quite favourable. I think.
Yeah, Chargers and Lions both in Denver, and the Raiders in Denver as well, which you always fancy them a little bit more at home as well. I think that's not too bad, and you certainly don't mind going on the road to play the Patriots right now anyway.
No, absolutely. And I think, Jenny, they split the Chargers series, but I think there's 1-2. They probably lose to the Lions. I'm going to give them, and Texans as coin flips. I think there's really 3.5 to 4 wins there. Probably say 3.5. So that's going to be at least 9 wins. And with how tight that AFC is, you would think that would be potentially enough to get you in the playoffs. But I also have to give credit to not only sticking with Sean and Russ, but also Vance Joseph, the defensive coordinator. There was mainly that were calling for his head, especially after the loss to ourselves. But they stuck with him, and since then the defense hasn't been too bad. So it's been pretty good, actually. So it's I think you've got to give huge credit for the Broncos for sticking with their guns and not pulling the plug so early, because a lot of teams could have done that. Could have easily got the whole team. I mean, there was even one point where there was talk about a fire sale. There was talk of Courtland Sutton being traded, Jerry Jeudy being traded. There was talk of
Patrick Surtain's being traded as well.
Yeah, all this talk, and there's talk of a fire sale, but then the deadline's gone, and since the deadline's gone, they seem to just completely up their game, and it's huge credit to that team.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. And like you say, there's a lot of teams that after that start, especially with that loss to you in there, would have jacked it in and gone, we'll get a good pick next season and go from there. And they've not done that, and they're bang in the race now.
Absolutely. Before we do go today, Cameron, I want to ask you a couple of questions, quick fire round. First of all, who is your MVP vote going to?
I'm going to be remarkably predictable here, but I just, as much as the stats aren't showing it right now, there is one thing that makes Jalen Hurts the most valuable player in the NFL right now, and that is the fact that he doesn't get flustered, he doesn't worry about anything, and when it matters, he makes the play and we still win the games. So for me, regardless of any stats, anything else, he's the MVP right now for me.
Okay, well, my answer, I'm still sticking with Christian McCaffrey. I'm not changing that anytime soon. I think the closest one to me right now probably is Tyreek Hill, but I gotta say for me right now, Christian McCaffrey. And then finally, again, it's maybe predictable since on one side of the two answers. What is Coney, if you had to bet on a Super Bowl matchup in February, who are the two teams that are going to play in it for you?
It's, for me right now, flipping a coin between us and the 49ers. But if I'm flipping a coin, I'm being biased and I'm flipping it on my side. So I'm going to say the Eagles. But I think it's super close between us right now. I don't think there's a lot in it either way. It'll just come down to who plays better on the day in the NFC Championship game. In the AFC, it's wide open, isn't it, right now? And you could literally go anywhere with it almost. I think I like you guys.
Oh wow, okay, I like that. A rematch of Week
I
7.
do. Yeah, I do. I think for me, I don't think the Chiefs are playing well enough, and I think when it comes down to it, they might struggle. I have no faith whatsoever in Lamar Jackson to win a big game when it matters, and I'm leaning between you and the Jags right now.
Okay.
And I think if it comes down to it, you win a shootout with the Jags.
Oh, I like that. That's giving me a lot of excitement that I don't want to get too carried away. But I still think Chiefs Niners for me. I think that until the Chiefs lose a playoff game, which I only done once the last 3 or 4 years, I still think them. I still think they'll
Would be
find a way.
interesting to see whether Pat has to go on the road in the playoffs this time.
That I think I would see that because it's incredible. He's only 2 road games he's had in his whole career being Super Bowls, and there was only 3 games, and one of them was technically an away game if you count it as being the Buccaneers at home. But it's incredible that he's had 5. He's already got. If he wins 2 playoff games this year, he'll have the 3rd most playoff wins for any quarterback in history already. Only Montana and Brady more. It's incredible, and I think that it goes down to a lot of it to his coaching, but the talent he has to lose Tyreek Hill and still do what he's doing. And I don't think this year it's great receivers, and I do think Kelsey is slightly showing signs of decline, but I still think come January, like the Patriots did a lot of years, they'll find a way and they'll get the win. And he's the only quarterback who's actually active and starting. That's won a Super Bowl. Only players haven't retired have been Aaron Rodgers, Nick Foles, and one's injured and one. So I don't think he's on any team. So this shows that right now he is the mark, and until we lose it, until someone else does it, I'm still going to say Mahomes, and I'm still going to say. But I think toss up between the Eagles and Niners. I think I'll be shocked if it's not one of them two. I do have a feeling about the Vikings. If the Eagles and Niners were to play in a divisional round for some reason, I've got the feeling the Vikings might just nick it and get a place, but then ultimately lose to one of you two in the championship. But should be an exciting season. I'm looking forward to what is now less than a month till Christmas and just over a month till the playoffs. So it should be, exciting times. But that is where we'll end it for today. So first of all, thank you, Cameron, for coming on.
Thanks for having me, as always. Love coming on. It's always good to just sit and chat NFL for a while, isn't it? It's just there's nothing better, is there? So yeah, great to be back on, and I'm sure we'll chat again at some point before we get to the big dance at the end.
Absolutely, and I think that even if not, we'll definitely have you on for the playoffs because there's no way the Eagles don't make it, and I will try again if I can to get fans of both teams to come on for each game. So yeah, should be an exciting time, but I think maybe even a longer stretch for you with the playoff bye. But yeah, this has been the Across the Pod Week 12 review. I've been your host, Andy Davis. This has been Cam McFarlane, and we will see you guys our Week 13 preview. See you then.